All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the stream. Hope everybody is doing well tonight. We are picking up where we left off on the last stream, although I do have some map updates, which you might recognize here if you were on the last stream. I've gone ahead and done a little bit of map work just before stream here, so I've got some updates there. And I guess we can, briefly talk about those once a few more people file in. But in terms of what is on the roster for tonight, we are going to continue our work on the volumes and also something called hit spheres. So we'll get into that in just a second. Before I do, though, I just want to take a quick second and thank the supporters of the channel, beginning with our elite partner, who is Javier Olazaron. That is the highest tier of subscription over there on YouTube memberships and Patreon. Followed by our partners, who's the next tier of subscription there. They are Bullies Inc. and Matt Osgard. I'd also like to thank all of the other supporters listed here under the supporters section. They are a combination of the other tiers of support over on YouTube memberships, Patreon, as well as Twitch subscriptions. So thank you all very, very much for your support. I greatly appreciate it, and it helps fund this project. So thank you very much for that. Of course, I hope it goes without saying that I appreciate all of you viewers, whether you're joining me on the Twitch side or you're joining me on the YouTube side. It does not matter. I appreciate you guys being here. Or if you're not able to join live and you're just catching the VOD after the fact, I appreciate you as well. Without you guys, this project would not exist. So thank you guys for being here. All right. So, Smudge, good to see you. How are you doing tonight? Welcome back. Singy over there on the YouTube side, how's it going? Good to see you. All right, so like I was saying in the intro, we have some mapping updates here. I finally got around to filling a few things in and did a little bit more work on the map just before stream here. So this is actually the exported version of what's in the mapping program here, so we can look at this in a little bit more clarity. So you'll notice that basically just about every zone on here has been touched. There's been several that have been added, some split up, etc. But yeah, we basically have a bunch more stuff going on, right? So Iskald is much smaller than it used to be. It basically comprises of just this area here. Frostfire Expanse hasn't really changed too much. That's about the same size it always was. To the left of that, we have the Ice Maw Shelf, which is sort of an icy iceberg sort of cliffy area, right? It's got like dragon bones and stuff in there. So it's like a cold sort of wastes type of land, right? So there's that. And then to the other side, Drakenfjord is a new zone that we've added. It used to be that Iskald came all the way over here. I decided to actually split this off into its own zone, complete with its own sort of geographic features. So this has got very high cliffs with steep drop-offs, and of course a narrow fjord to get to Briskfjord, which is the town in there. So we've got that. It's full of pine trees, smaller villages, things like that. But that's just kind of another thing we did, and I kind of like the way that that's laid out a little bit better. We also have another pretty important addition up here. So this was just kind of a barren island before. I hadn't really done anything with it. And that is no longer true now. This actually has some lore attached to it as well. So the island is called Blood Winterholm, and then the town on it is called Frosthelm. And Frosthelm is basically where the world's best blacksmiths live, right? So they all study and live here. And it's a super secretive society. They create the best weapons and the best armor in the world by far. And so the best items come from them, and it is all run by the master blacksmith known as Gia. And so I've added all of that into our document in here as well. And so that is another bit of lore that we kind of briefly discussed when we were kind of tossing around ideas. Now it's been a little bit more solidified. Sakillis Music, good to see you. Hello. The other thing is we've done a bunch of other splitting up in this area here. So we have the Autumn Reach hasn't really changed. Silverwood Foothills hasn't really changed. But below the Ice Maw Shelf, we now have Ember Waste. And so I don't have a whole lot of lore planned for this one just yet, but basically the entire area was scorched, burned, set on fire, right? And there's some ruins in there. And then there might even be places of it that are still actually on fire, right? And so that's kind of the theme of that zone, at least the visual theme. And then below that, we have a place called Gloomwood. So Gloomwood is off the Verdane Forest, and it's supposed to be sort of a dark, kind of mystical, creepy kind of forest type of area with graveyards and stuff like that, little ghosts, right? And so I don't have a name for the town that's in there yet, but that's the sort of feel that I was going for that zone, right? So Verdane Forest, of course, is much smaller now because it used to kind of go all the way across here, and now it's been split up into Gloomwood, Verdane Forest, and Amberfield, which is a sort of grassy plains, open field type of area where there's lots of farmland to like grow wheat and other crops and things like that, with of course a small town in it as well. So there's that. Ruckthar has also been a little bit shrunken down, so it's a partial of the size that it was. So the central area hasn't really changed in terms of where the city of Zulthar sits and all of that. But what has changed is the area over here to the west. There's a new zone here added called the Redwood Steppes. And as you can see, it's called Redwoods because there's redwoods in here, and then there's steppes because the land literally cascades down towards the ocean, right? So this land is a little bit higher up, and this kind of cascades down through steppes, right? And there's a river that originates up in these mountains. That feeds both this river that cuts across and around Gloomwood and also comes down here and separates the Redwood Steppes from Ruckthar. So that, again, cascades its way down, and then we have like a delta down here where it lets out to the sea. So there's that, and then we have Drazul, which was sort of a huge expansive desert, and we've shrunk that a little bit and put walls up around it essentially, or cliffs, sand cliffs, if you will. And so that's a little bit more contained now. We just added some details there, some ruins, that kind of thing. Makraza hasn't really changed. I want to do some stuff here, but I just haven't gotten to it. And then we've added a few other places. So I know somebody mentioned this in the last stream that we should add like a Florida man type of thing in a zone called Florina. So I went ahead and did that. And so it's that's been added there, and we've got the islands down here that's like the Florida Keys, right? And the lake here and all that good stuff. So I'm not sure 100% what I'm going to do with that yet, but the zone does exist. And then we have a new zone here called the Dreadfang Crater. And this is going to be the dino zone. This is where the dinos are going to go. I know I was thinking about putting the dinos over here in Tirgor Wilds, and I still might put some stuff in there, maybe some raptors. But Dreadfang Crater is where it's going to be at, right? And then just above that, we have a tiny little zone called Evergloam Thicket, which is sort of like a mystical forest kind of thing with like fey energy and that kind of thing, right? So we have that, and then the only other modifications that I've made is I added some banners to things, and then I did a little bit more work down here. This continent has been expanded greatly. So Valor is much bigger than it used to be. We still don't have a lot of this defined. But one of the things I wanted to get added in here was a new zone called Parchvale. And Parchvale is basically a desert wasteland. And it has essentially been drained dry by Isetsu. So we kind of created some lore around how their technology is powered based off of the life force of the planet to power their technology called Lumitech. And essentially we've actually kind of built that into the world now. So we have this massive pipeline that goes from Isetsu over to Parchvale, and this is what pulls the magical energy out of there. So that is the reason that this is all sort of a wasteland, is because all of the life force is being drained out of it. But the people that are in the city can't really see that from the coastline because the coastline still looks fine. And so, the people here really aren't worried about it because out of sight, out of mind, and or they don't know about it because they haven't traveled over to here, right? So that's kind of the way that works, and I think that is about it for the map updates. LaFoley, good to see you. Yes, I put Pirate Bay in there. Yep, the Pirate Bay. That's not an accident, by the way. 3-stream streak, nice, LaFoley. Appreciate that. Taman, it's good to see you as well. Hope you're doing well. Not a master blacksmith named Tim. No. The master blacksmith is actually named by Spiro, and it's in honor of his daughter, right? So Spiro is a good friend of mine, and so he and I have been talking about it for a little bit, and I'm like, I'd like to put a reference in there, somehow. So that's where that came from. So, hey, speaking of Spiro, there he is. Giga Chad. Pirate Bay needs something called the Torrent. Ooh. That's good. That's really good. What would the Torrent be, though? What would the Torrent be? A whirlpool? Ooh, that's good. Yeah, that's not bad. Let me do a yeah, I'll shout out a Spiro. There we go. What's going on, Soul Foam? Good to see you. Yeah, I suppose we could put a whirlpool like down here somewhere, right? We could come down here and maybe move this up here somewhere, and then I think in here there is one. There's a whirlpool. So we can make it a little bit bigger. I really like that idea. That's hysterical. Boom. The torrent exists now. Love it. There are some that call me Tim the Enchanter. Yeah. Yeah, I get it, but yeah, there's the Master Blacksmith already has a name. You contributed. Yes, you did. Yeah. That's pretty awesome. We might even be able to make that go into like another zone, like an underwater zone or something, maybe in the future. Maybe as like a expansion or something. Gooey, first time chat, welcome. Hello, what's your game about? So, the game is an action RPG. It's a 3D isometric action RPG. We are still very, very early stages in development. We're still in the design phase and figuring out what we want to do. We are doing some coding as well. We're going to get to that in a bit. But we are making a 3D isometric RPG. So it's relatively open world, but it will be zoned, right? So it's not completely open world in terms of like World of Warcraft, where you can run from one continent to the other end, right? But we'll have all of these different zones that you can kind of see here, how they're split up, and you can just kind of go from one to the next, right? And so that's kind of the idea. In terms of progression, we are dispensing with the idea of any kind of experience or levels or any of that stuff. It's going to be skill-based, a little bit more like Elden Ring or Dark Souls or something like that, where if you're good enough, you technically could progress entirely through the game with no armor and a rusty dagger if you wanted to do that. You'd have to be really good at dodging, essentially, though. And so that's the idea. The only progression will be via items that you can equip, so you can make or equip or find items throughout the world. The strongest items that you can get will be the ones that you can craft, And then other than that, it'll also be you can sync points into stats, which I'm going to come up with some sort of currency for that. But yeah, other than that, there's not going to be like a level system or anything. Diamond, thank you for the tier 1 sub. 16 months, geez. It's been a long time. I appreciate all that support. Thank you very much. Brain Clouds, how's it going? Had to come in here and see you making an RPG map. Yeah. Long time no speak, man. How have you been? I almost slipped and said your name, but I'm not gonna. But thanks for joining in. Coffee and Coding, how's it going? Good to see you as well. All right. Is it open world like Genshin Impact? No. Nope. It's not going to be. It's going to be zoned. Just because there's a lot less involved in making it zoned, right? Because I don't have to stream assets that way. I don't have to worry about resetting the origin every once in a while. I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. And I think the zone loads will be relatively quick, so I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue. Let's see. Used to watch the Kohi series. Is this built in Kohi? Yes, it is. Yep. Yeah, so we've built the game engine for the most part anyways. And now we're building the game in the game engine that we built. Good, been making my own RPG as well, and Monogame, formerly XNA. Oh, that's pretty awesome. Monogame is pretty powerful. I know I loved XNA back in the day. That's the way to go if you want to use C#, but you don't want to use Unity, for sure. That's pretty awesome. I'll have to hit you up offline for like a link or something if you have one. Let's see. Seeing you make an RPG map makes me want to make my own. Been holding off on that. Yeah. I'm kind of also doing it to not, I guess to kind of maintain, what's the word I'm looking for? Motivation, right? Because if I go back and forth between tasks, I won't get bored working on any one thing. Chilling. Nice. Until I figure out the story of my world fully. Yeah, so that's kind of what I've done. So we have the story arcs, right? With the groups of people, the religions, the wars. We have all that stuff. But I mostly wanted to build the world first and then build the stories around that world. So that's kind of what we're doing as well. Monogame is derived from XNA. How did I not know that? Yeah, it's a open source implementation of XNA. Technically, it's not the same code base. It's a re-implementation of it. Not quite sulfate. Well, I mean, yes, but it's not necessarily because of that. It's actually more like religion wars. Yeah. And there's literally going to be trolling the trolls, for sure. Nothing out of context here, exactly. All right, so what we were working on the last stream was we were talking about... actually, I can run it, because I did do a little bit of this offline. I really need to get some assets imported so we have something to look at, but... we now have, you'll see that there's an orb here, or at least the outline of an orb or a sphere. And so this is where the trigger is actually located, right? So if I go in here to the file over here, where we have our trigger volume, and I change this to rectangle, I've got this extents plugged in here just so I could quickly switch it back and forth. It'll just only read the one that it needs, right? If we do that, and then load up, you'll see that a rectangle comes up now. And so that would be the trigger area, right? But I'm going to work with spheres first because it's easy, because it's a simple radius check, right? And I've actually got that here. I've got another thing that we added. So we have the volume here, which is basically just attached to a spawn point, right? And then on the player, we have something called a hit sphere, which is something we haven't discussed yet. So what I'm thinking is, whenever we are dealing with things like interacting with the environment, not necessarily physics, right? But um, other non-physics related things, such as entering a volume, like a trigger volume or something like that, right? An area of effect volume. We're going to use volumes for all kinds of things. We're going to use this for that, right? When we're doing melee hit checks or a fireball has been casted, right? We're going to use this hit sphere for that to determine whether it's a hit or not. And just by doing that, it's going to make it very easy to check those things every frame, and it's going to be relatively cost almost free in terms of how we're going to check that, right? So hit sphere is the way we're going to go. We could go with a hit box, right? But the problem with the hit box is it's got to be oriented, and then you've got to do a lot more math to bring either the thing that you're checking into the same orientation as the box, or you've got to take the box and put it in the same orientation as the thing that you're checking against. And either way, there's more operations involved in that, and you'd have to do that at least once a frame, checking against other things to see, hey, do these things actually collide or not? So we're going to start with spheres, and if we do need hitboxes later on, we'll go ahead and add them, but I don't think we're going to at this point. So the other concept that we have is, you'll note here that I have a hit sphere attachment type that's been added. So that basically just follows through the same process that we did in terms of adding volumes. And then we have a radius here. The other thing we have is tags, right? So we have the ability now to tag attachments, and that's going to come in handy when we're doing things like taking a look at whether or not two objects should actually interact based off their tags. And so tags, essentially, there's only one here now, but with it, the way tags work is if we had multiple tags, we would separate them by pipe. So if we wanted to tag this one player, but we also wanted to tag it, I don't know, shootable, right? That's how we would basically do that. And then that means, projectiles could interact with them, for example. So for right now, we just have the single tag here. And then in our volume, we also have hit sphere tags, right? So this is how volumes will interact with hit spheres, is we have specific tags that it can look for. So it says only the hit spheres in the scene that have the tags in here will be evaluated. Now, we only have one tag, right? And it's player. It matches, right? So that should definitely work. So we'll need to... I've actually got the logic written for that. And I think I have everything in place that I need to actually get this to work, except for handling the actual state of have we just entered, have we just exited, or were we previously in the volume and we're just looping, right? And so that's basically where we're at. Interesting, I'm making interesting storylines, and writing them down whenever I think of them keeps growing. Yeah, that's basically what I've been doing with this Google Doc. I think it's, does it say how many? Yeah, it's 29 pages so far. And we've only been at this for a couple weeks. The Cloud Plus motorcycle is freaking sweet. Yeah. I mean, let's see, which way was it? It's over that way. Yeah. I didn't think that was showing up on camera, but I guess it does. Here, let me blow that up for a second so you can see it. Yeah, so you're talking about that guy. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff in there. At some point, I'd like to make it so that you can actually see that stuff better, as well as the stuff that's behind me and stuff up there. I actually did remember my on-air thing tonight. But yeah. I'm surprised you could see that in that tiny window. Let's see. Could honestly just be a circle and ignoring height, which is potentially what I'm going to do. The only difference is height is going to be a factor in this game a little bit, right? So we are going to have zones, for example, If we take a look at this for a second, and I'll use the redwood steps actually as an example, right? So if you're standing down here by this lumber mill and there's something up here casting a fireball at you, there's two ways that we could make this work. Either the fireball just goes over your head, which I think is kind of dumb, or we could just have it point directly at you and shoot directly at you downwards. So either way, we can't really ignore height because it's got to visually go down anyways. But you could dodge out of the way before it actually comes and hits you. So I'm thinking the sphere is still going to be the best way to go. We'll just keep the sphere relatively small. It's actually 1 unit right now, which is probably actually too big. But that's kind of what I'm thinking anyways. My game, most hitboxes are circles, could have multiple circles and just a height constraint. Yeah, we could do it that way too. We could have more than one for sure. All right. From like, good to see you. Probably don't remember 2 years ago, I troubled you a lot on Discord about how to build a file searcher. This week I made it and understood it. Well, congrats. That's awesome. I'm glad you were able to figure that out. Very cool. All right. So there's a couple ways that I have thought about this in terms of how we handle this. So we essentially need a state to know from the perspective of the volume which of the oh, it's a helicopter flying over my house. Okay. Just heard a sudden really loud noise and couldn't tell what it was with the headphones on. All right, so what we could do, and what I'm thinking, is we maintain a list within the volume itself to say how many of, or I should say which hit spheres are currently within it, right? And so we essentially have 3 cases, right? We have the case of, are these intersecting, which we just do a radius check. If we do, we have a hit, and then we just need to determine whether it was previously already there or whether we're adding it. And we'll know that by whether it's not in the list or not before we actually push it to the list, right? And then if it's not hitting, then we just need to say, hey, was it previously in the list? And if so, let's go ahead and remove it, right? So either way, we're going to have to check to see if it's in the list. So instead of doing that twice, or at least in 2 different places in code, I think I'm going to go ahead and just do it once here, right? So I think the way that we should probably do that is via index, right? Because we have volumes and indexes, and then we have indexes for hit spheres, right? So let's go up to where we declare scene volume, and we're going to add, I guess we'll just add a D array here. We're eventually going to clean this up to make this more data oriented, right? We just kind of want to get it to work so we can feel it out for now. So I guess what I'll do is we'll have a U32 array, and we'll call that what do we want to call it? Contained hit spheres? I guess we could just call it hit spheres, right? But that doesn't seem very descriptive. Sphere indices, I guess, right? Of indices into the hit spheres array, into the scenes hit spheres array, right? And so whenever we create that, that's going to be 0, right? So the first thing we'll have to do is we'll go, let's see, I guess we could do, this is actually regardless of this type of shape too. So let's do the check here. So check if the hit sphere already exists in the array, right? So I probably should make a utility function for this, but I'm just going to do it in line here for now until we get it working, and then I can always just move it later. So we'll do a first thing we need to check is actually if scene, actually it's going to be volume, if volume hit spheres or hit sphere indices, right? If that doesn't exist, actually, or no, I guess we could do it this way. Let's have something here that says, I don't know, already contained, and that's gonna be false. Okay. So here we can do a u32k equals 0. My God, I keep typing the wrong thing. K is less than HS counts, which we'll have to declare here in a second, plus K, right? So u32 HS count equals the array length, and that's going to be volume hit sphere indices, right? And this needs to be in here. Okay. So we default to already contain as false. If we don't have the array at all defined, then obviously that's going to remain false. If we do, then we get the count of that, loop through it, and then say if volume hit sphere indices k equals, and then we want the actual hit sphere index, which is going to be j. Right? So if that's there, then we'll say already contained equals true, break. Right? So now we have the state on whether or not it's already contained. I suppose what we could do, instead of using a Boolean here, let's be a little bit more intelligent about this. Let's do an I32 already contained equals -1. Right? And then what we'll do is we'll rename already contained to index, right? And then here we'll set index equal to k, right? So that way we actually know where it is in here as well, because we'll need to know that. And so this will tell us two things. If it's -1, that means we didn't find it. If it's not -1, then we also have the index stored in that same space, right? So at this point, we know the state of it, right? So if we have a collision, then the next thing that we need to do is figure out which of the functions we need to call, right? So if index equals -1, then what we're going to do is to do call on enter command, right? Else call on update command, right? So we do that. I guess we don't need that. Okay. And then here, in the else clause here, if we don't have a hit, are we leaving, right? And so if the index, the only thing that we actually care about is if the index is greater than -1, then we're going to call the onLeave command, right? And then we don't need this else clause. Oops. Right? Which I guess we could probably just condense that into. We could probably just do this, actually. right? Did we remove our break? I guess we did. Okay. So there's our state, right? So the first thing that we'll have to do is, if we have a hit and we're on entering, or we're doing an on enter rather, we will need to add it also. Add to the list, right? Now, this obviously means that we need to check to see if the list is actually even exists yet, right? Because it might not. So we'll say if not volume hit sphere indices. Then we'll do darray create, and we'll do u32, right? And that's going to be volume hit space indices, right? So we'll create it if we need, and then add it to the list, right? I suppose we could just leave this up here. That's fine. So we'll do darray push, and then all we need to do is change this to a u32 index, right? Oh, we forgot the actual array itself. Volume hit sphere indices. Okay. So we add it to the list. That way next time it's caught, right? And at this point, it'll just fall through the rest of the logic, and we should be good. So the next thing we need to do is check, do we have an on enter command? So we'll do volume if volume on enter command. Then we'll do console command execute volume on enter command, right? And that is the way that that's going to work across the board, right? So it's very, very straightforward. If it's configured to have an on enter command, console command called, it's going to go ahead and do that. And then by the same token, for these other states, so this is going to be update. So on update command, and then finally on leave command, right? And on leave command needs to do one more thing. So it actually needs to do a removal, right? So let's see. If we are, yeah, okay. So we can do darray, what is it, pop at, I think. Darray pop at, and it's going to be volume hit sphere indices. Let me make sure I'm doing this right. I think I am. If it's not -1, that's the only time we're going to do. Yeah, okay. So we shouldn't have to worry about the array not existing, right? So the index is going to be u32 cast index. Let's see. Oh, I think it wants something to write it to, right? So we can do rubbish. There we go. Okay. So we check for collision. And actually, come think of it, we probably don't even need all of this logic in here, right? It should probably come after all of this, because this is just really needs to be a collision check in here. And then we just need to have a collision check in here. And then after the switch case is where we actually need to put all of our stuff. So let's do this. B8 collision has collision, I guess. And we're going to default that to false. And I'm actually, for now, I'm just going to take this whole block. and put it here. But we're going to replace this with has collision is the result of that distance check. I need this. I think it's just this we need to get rid of, right? And then all of this can go away, right? And then so what we'll do here, since we don't have this math yet, we'll just do has collision equals false, right? So do a simple collision check here, and then come down here and replace this with has collision, right? And there we go. That should do it. I guess we could probably do... I guess we should actually see this in the pop-up in the console if it works, right? I'm not convinced this is going to work right out the bat. I think there's probably stuff I've missed, but scene serializer. Type. We did not finish in the scene serializer, apparently. Okay. So this is deserialize attachment. I thought we did this. Oh, I probably only wrote the serialization logic. No, there it is right there. What is it? What? Hit sphere. Oh, volume is here. Okay. All right, let's do this. Because we have volume here, but we don't have hit spheres. So let's add another case for that, right? And then do hit sphere. Typed attachment is going to be hit sphere config. Wait. Did we not put a... I don't think I put a base in there, did I? I did not. What a dongus. Need that. Okay. Now, we just need to look really quickly at our hit sphere. I think the only thing we need to process, tags are processed for us by the base attachment, so we don't have to worry about that. I think literally radius is the only thing we actually need to take out of this. So we're going to do this number. Put that up here. And all of this other poop. Yep, that too. All that can go. So all we actually needed was this guy. And then instead of shape config radius, it's just dot radius. And then we'll do hit sphere definition is missing property. This is going to be hit sphere configs. And then hit sphere config, hit sphere configs. Okay. So we're pushing into the appropriate array. That seems like it's it. Unused. Oh, right, we didn't wind up using rotation. I'm gonna need that in... I'm gonna need that when we go to do oriented bounding boxes, but I'll just comment it out for now. Let's see. Only reason I went with the circle with height constraint is I can do a simple height check and really quickly to prune a lot of collision checks. And the circle checks do 2 checks in 1 SIMD instruction. Oh, that's a good point. Sphere check can only do 1 per SIMD. Only reason I do this, I have a lot of hitboxes in my game, which we might too. I'm not worried about being uber accurate, right? So I'm not going to have like a hit sphere for each limb or anything like that. This isn't quite like it's not quite as crazy as what you have in something like Elden Ring, right? Where you can jump around, where you can duck below attacks and stuff like that. I think a single hitbox is going to be enough. I may wind up having to do what you're talking about as well. Kind of hoping not, but I'm hoping just a simple radius check will be enough. It'll certainly be enough to get us pretty far, I think. Keeps many of the collision query loops hot and tight. Yeah, so that's another thing we're going to have to think about too. This whole scene actually is going to need to be gone over, right? Because there's a lot of work being done in here that really would be better split up if we split some of these properties up in a more data-oriented way. How are you managing assets again? You pop in Blender over, open, paying someone, looking for free assets. So while I'm in early development, I'm just grabbing like sample assets from places, just placeholders. Eventually, I'm going to start modeling some of the stuff myself. But for some of it, I probably am going to have to pay somebody to do it because animating's not my thing, rigging's not my thing. I hate them both. So for those two things, I might wind up paying somebody, but we're not there yet. Free assets might work, right? But the problem with that is like they almost never wind up actually fitting the theme that you're looking for. So yeah, it's probably going to be a lot of bespoke work, right? And that's after we actually finalize what visual style we want, because I want to play around with a couple of visual styles to see what I really like in terms of art, and I want to get all those answers in place based on stuff I'm just going to create before I actually start paying somebody to actually make stuff that we might wind up throwing away, if that makes sense. My use case is the player can have spells that have lots of particles like sparks that have many small hitboxes. Yeah, I'm not going to have anything crazy like that. But yeah, in your case, that makes sense. Want to allow lots of cast speed and projectiles. Yeah, so we want to have lots of projectiles too, but my thought is if there's a bunch of those are spheres, it should be fairly straightforward, I think. I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see if that's actually going to be a bottleneck. And that's one of the reasons I'm not using the physics system to do it. Because I don't actually need it to do everything that the physics system does. So, just built successfully, right? Yeah. All right, so let me open this up. I'm not convinced this is going to work. Alrighty then. What did we K allocate that is giving a 0 size? Oh, what a dongus. Okay. 769. I know what I did. I did not take into account the actual... I thought I took this into account everywhere, but apparently I missed this one. Not terribly surprised. Kind of need a count to actually allocate something, right? I don't think I need to explicitly set this to 0, but I'm going to do it anyway. Just in case. Make all game resources yourself. Yeah, I will be, except for things like some animations and stuff. Okay. Xform world gets. We do not have. So, all right, so the scene's loaded. We should have a single volume. Okay, it looks like all of our data is loaded correctly here. Look at our shape config. Okay, that looks fine. Hit sphere tag count, hit sphere tags. We don't have either of those. So this is bleating, though, about getting a world position for the volume. Okay, so it looks like we have a valid hierarchy handle, which is from the attachment, and then we also have an Xform handle that seems to be valid. Wait a minute, 768. That's not what I passed in, is it? Oh, it is. It is what I passed in. Why are we getting... Why is it that high? We don't have that many transforms. Let me think about this for a second. So this worked until... Isn't this the same thing that we did? Maybe not. So what we're attempting to do here is we are attempting to get the Xform of the owning node, essentially. So what we do is we get the... we're iterating the volumes, right? And we say, okay, give me the attachment for that volume. The volume attachment has a series of handles, right? The most important one being the hierarchy node handle. So this is a handle to the node's hierarchy, right? The owning node and the hierarchy, right? So this looks at the hierarchy graph and says, okay, I need the transform for this particular node. So we get that comes from the hierarchy node handle out of the vol attachment using the hierarchy view here. And then we do a Xform handle get using the hierarchy node handle. Which is that the right thing to do? The node handle, yeah, that is what we should be doing. Handle index. And then we get this handle, and then that should pull in here. But in the hierarchy, nodes allocated is 16. Why is this node... Handle index 18 also doesn't seem correct, though. If we're taking a look at the hierarchy, this is telling me you have 16 nodes. Did I use the wrong index somewhere? I'm pretty sure this is the same way we do it elsewhere. let's see. For example, this is what we do for point lights, right? So if I copy this and compare it to here, I guess I'll paste it below, right? Oh, yep, we are using the wrong index, I think. This is using I. Oh wait, I pasted that in the wrong spot. My bad. This is the one I need. Okay. Okay, so we pull the attachment sub I. It's like literally the same thing, right? I guess I don't need to do... Oh, I see what I've done wrong. Okay. I see what I've done wrong. So... hit spheres. So using this as an example, what we really should be doing is when we go to get the XForm handle, right? We should be using vol attachment hierarchy node handle and eliminating that other step. All right, let's try that. Adam Fighter, how's it going? Welcome. Design question for you. I've seen some people break up their code as main renderer, also main renderer mesh camera, main renderer mesh scene camera. My question is, what goes to who? Like when you have renderer mesh scene. So, it's a bit of a convoluted question, I guess, or a complex answer, right? So, generally speaking, you want to manage your resources or do resource specific things in resource systems, right? So, if you're doing things like managing your meshes should be managed by a mesh system, right? Uploading mesh data to the GPU should be done by the renderer. As far as the camera, that could be managed either by the scene or the camera or a camera system, right? But yeah, you kind of want to split it up that way. I've reread that 10 times. Yeah, so I think the way that we have it here is we have a sort of a setup where we do a lot of work for determining what order things need to be in for a forward pass within the scene, because we know there's requirements in the scene, right? The scene does a lot of work in terms of maintaining hierarchy, maintaining various lists and things and views of all those different nodes and attachments within the scene so that we can access them quickly, right? It depends on what you're trying to do. That's the thing. There's not really a quick and easy answer to that, I guess. Resource idea was the missing piece. Okay. All right, cool. I'm glad that made sense. Let's see. Okay. So let's try loading this. It's still pooping itself. Okay, so handle index. Oh, that is definitely wrong. Why did we not create a world matrix for it? I mean, that handle index is definitely wrong. World position gets. It should just be. Thank you for the sub over there on the YouTube side. Appreciate that. Welcome. How did this wind up with a... Wait, what? Handle index 18. Oh, right, because we have to reach into the Xform system with that handle. So it's the Xform system that doesn't have what it needs. Where did it get... Let's see what this Xform handle is. I have a feeling this is some dingus-oriented programming that I've done here, and I've done something dumb. I just have to figure out what it is I did. Okay, that feels like uninitialized memory to me. That index is absolutely gigantic, and we don't have anywhere near that number of things instantiated. So... about the only other thing I could do... we'll look for other instances of this. Oh, that's the only two. Okay. We're not doing this anywhere else. I wonder if that function is just foobar. Right, because we do this, right? And then maybe we can extract the position from that. That feels like we shouldn't have to do that, though. So I guess let's do a hack, right? And see. Okay, so this is done the same way. We don't have to worry about that. Xform handle. Let's do vol Xform handle. Comment this out. Oh, that's not even the right line. Well, I guess we need to comment that one out too. Sure. Okay, so this should be vol attachments. I'm actually beginning to wonder if we didn't create the volume attachment correctly. We might have boned that somehow. Okay, so let's just see if this works. And then do vec3 vol world position equals mat4 position world. I don't think we should have to do this, but let's just see if it works. I have a feeling it's not going to work, actually, because I'm thinking we forgot to set up the attachment or something in the attachment. Nope, that actually worked. Okay, let me think about that. Why did that work versus the hierarchy? All right, well, let's move our character over here and see what we get. I don't think this is going to work. No. Okay. So, a couple things. I don't think we're moving the I don't think we're moving the hit sphere along with the player as we move. Which theoretically this logic down here should be doing. It's interesting that this one is working, but that same thing didn't work for up here. I'm going to do something stupid and do vol world position. Oh, you know what? I think that's at 0, 0, 0 though. Isn't the volume at 0, 0, 0? I think we did. I think we said we put it there. Let's move that collision volume. Let's move this to, I don't know, 3, 4, actually no, 3, 0, 4. Okay, let me just make sure that that works real quick. I didn't really need to build for that. Okay, interesting. So this didn't wind up moving, which means we need to update this to actually move. That probably also means that, okay. It was just a coincidence that it happened to be lined up there. Rare it's working and I don't know why situation. Yeah, I just found out why, because it looked like it was working, but it really wasn't, because I had the spawn point at 0, 0, 0. Or not the spawn point, I had the trigger point, or the trigger volume at 0, 0, 0. And as soon as I moved that, I was like, oh, the actual sphere that represents it didn't move along with it, which tells me it's not actually doing the thing it's supposed to. And I also have a feeling that this is wrong too. But one thing at a time. When we do a debug render data query, we need, let's see, mesh debug shapes, volumes, here we go. So we're doing xform world gets sphere xform. When we create that, were we parenting it to anything? I don't know that we were. So when we do scene node initialize, let's see, volumes, okay. I thought we were, we're not setting a parent. Right there. Parent xform. Okay. So the parent xform here, I thought we were doing that. Oh, we did it for box 3D, but we did not do it. Okay, that's why. So if we do that, then it still doesn't move. Awesome. Okay. So the xform handle is from the node itself, right? So we create that here. So if we're creating that, oh, you know what? We're probably not doing an update on that either. Let me see something. Okay, that doesn't do anything. Which is probably wrong. So what do I need to do to make that update correctly? I need to do... I need to point lights. Looks like we're updating the point light position. What about the debug data though? Oh, this is what we're doing. We're updating the transform here. Okay. Are we doing that here as well? No, it doesn't look like we're doing that for this one. What did we do for the audio emitter? So for that one, we did use khandle invalid here. Hierarchy node handle. Not understanding what piece I missed. Because I shouldn't have to update. I guess I could try. Let's see, Xform world gets. If we don't have that, maybe it's because I'm getting the world matrix and not the local matrix. It shouldn't matter though. Let's try it though. No, that's not right either. I'll bet this is just returning identity, and I'll bet it's saying that this handle is invalid or something. I suppose we got to debug it, right? So what is that, 1160? 1160, right here. No, we do have... What are we getting back as far as... Okay, that is transformed. Or there's the position right there. So this is correct. The world position is correct. Okay. Oh, I didn't spit this out. That's smart of me. Okay, so let me go back to this. All right, we do know that that's working at least. Now we have the volume world position. And we're using that, I believe. Right here. So we're getting the vector distance between that and the hit sphere world position. Which is possible that that is wrong now. Because maybe we need to do the same thing. Which seems incredibly dumb. And if that's the case, I'm going to be looking into fixing that. But for now, let's just see. All right, so we'll do a hack. And then we'll do end hack. Oops. All right, and then we will disable this. And then all we really need here is that. This is going to be... I do need this. So HS attachments. And then we can do that. And then world position there. And then there. Okay. All right, let me at least see. I'm pretty sure we determined that that was correct, so let me just skip over that. Yes, okay, that's correct. There's the issue. So it looks like our any tags match is actually failing, which is something that I did not count on failing. So I might have bollocksed that. So essentially what this is supposed to do is it's supposed to take the list of hit sphere tags from the volume, which is nothing. Therein lies the problem. Okay, and then the hit sphere tags is also nothing. So am I not copying those things over then? That'd be why it's not working. Okay, so when we do initialize, yeah, I thought we were handling, yeah, here's where we handle the tags right here. So we look at the typed attachment config hit sphere tag count, and then take a copy of those. So that raises the question, is this wrong? Are we not copying in a property that we need? Okay. I do see that there's some chat there. I'll catch up on that in just a second. I just want to see. Yeah, we're not getting the hit tags. That's the problem. Our tag system that we put in to filter out what actually gets tested isn't doing the thing because we aren't actually copying over the tags as we should be. So we'll have to figure out why that is. All right. Let's see. Your hack is exactly the same line as you commented. Yeah, I know. I just wanted them grouped together so that I could just remove the hack and uncomment the other block. Let's see. Sometimes position, texture, and shaders put together. However, this is not consistent with OpenGL's design. Like I can hold GPU, like I can load into GPU memory address the data for a cube once, then I can draw 16 cubes with different texture and shaders. Yep. So what should mesh carry? Should I make a geometry and a mesh for one data, the others for textures and shit? I'm not sure what you're asking. You live in a tourist state and computer science is not big here. I can understand that. But yeah, I'm not really sure what you're asking. It sounds like you're trying to draw instance geometry, but with different materials, which is something you can do. Yeah. You just have to set your renderer up to do that. Geriatric TTV. I love the name. That's hysterical. My brain melts trying to understand this. How long was it until you had some level of understanding what you're doing? I mean, years of writing engines, right? Also, one thing I'm doing on this series that I've done since the beginning is we're always trying new things, right? So I have the things that I know work, but those things may have issues, or there's benefits and drawbacks to all kinds of stuff. So we've tried a couple of different things here with scenes. I'm not convinced that this is the final version that we're going to go with either. But one thing that we do on this channel is experimentation with different features and different ways of doing things. So yeah, it's taken a bit for sure. Are you in Windows right now? Have you tried Rad Debugger? It's so good. No, I'm on Arch at the moment. As soon as Rad Debugger comes out with a Linux version, as soon as it's released and it's got the bugs worked out of it and it's relatively stable, I probably will be switching to that. But I don't want to have a different debugging setup on Windows than I do on Linux and Mac, right? That's the reason I use this. Hope they don't bail on the promise of a Linux version, but it's taking a while. Yeah, it's understandable, because they've got to hook into GDB, I assume. You implemented a filter to do less work, now it's doing zero work. I think it's doing what it's supposed to do. Yes, it's filtering everything, exactly. Arch, by the way, yes. Yep, 100%. What issues does your engine solve compared to other available engines? So, it's a relatively short list, admittedly. One thing that it solves is I know all the tech behind it. I know where to look for stuff. I know how to fix stuff. I don't have to wait on somebody else to fix it, right? I don't have to delegate that to a third party to fix it, because I'm the one that drives it. I know the code base. So that's a huge advantage. Issues, I didn't write the other ones. Yeah, that's also true. That's also true, and it kind of goes into my first point. The second thing is I don't have anything in this engine that I don't need. So a lot of these out-of-the-box game engines are absolutely gigantic and heavy, and contain a whole bunch of stuff that I'll never use. So this engine, I'm only adding things to it as I actually need them. So I only have what I need in here. So it enables me to keep it a little bit more lean and a little bit more concise that way. Also, it's, obviously a learning exercise. That's part of the reason that we're doing this from scratch, is to show the entire process of not only writing a game engine, but also writing games for that game engine and the things that you run into as you start to exercise those systems once they're done, right? Like what we're dealing with tonight. So I hope that answers it. Okay. So we are getting no hit sphere tags. So that begs the question. Actually, so the scene serializer has what it needs, I believe. We could verify that as well. Thank you for the follow, by the way. Appreciate that. I suppose we could verify that really quickly, just to make sure that we're actually pulling in what we think we're pulling in. Here we're pulling in the tags, so I suppose we could look at that as well. Let's actually just put a breakpoint here because there's only one spot we're using that. And then the other one was, well, thank you for the follow, by the way. Appreciate that. It's really cool that you're working on the game part now where most engine series fail to get at, I feel. Yeah, I feel like one of the things that was always frustrating to me is like a lot of the game engine series that are out there, they basically get a renderer up and running, and the renderer is pretty and has, you know, lots of visual effects and all this kind of stuff, and then they stop, and they don't actually show how to apply that to an actual game scenario, building a world with it, right? Versus just a model viewer that spins one single thing in front of a camera. I feel like a lot of series fall short on that, and so that was one of the reasons I did this. Tammin also brings up a good point too. In fact, Tammin, if you don't mind, can you ping me on Discord? I have something that I want to talk to you about after the stream. But just ping me there so I can be reminded, because I'll forget. Okay, I'm also going to do this. I have a feeling I know what this problem is, actually. I have a feeling we're parsing it at this level, but we're not copying it over to the resource level. Or maybe not. Did we seriously not hit either breakpoint here? Oh, that's serialized node. I don't need that one. Oh, that's the serialization. Whoops, I meant dear serialization. Just kidding. So we want that breakpoint, and we want I thought we had it in here. Sphere radius, extents, volume type. Oh, did we not put it in here? Hit sphere configs. I don't think we put it in there. Womp womp. So that might explain why we don't have that, right? I think the tags probably are being extracted. I suppose we could test that really quickly. Yeah, okay. Yep, okay. So the tags are coming through correctly. It's just the rest of it that's not. Okay, so when we do, which means if we're not doing it here, we're probably not also doing it at the resource level. So scene serializer. Okay, so this is actually in the hit sphere that we're not getting it, right? So it's oh wait, no. Hit sphere tags in the volume, so it's actually here. I thought I could have swore I added it here, but I guess I didn't. Okay. I guess we'll use a copy of this. So let's put this right here. This should be good enough. Instead of volume type, we'll do hit sphere tags. And then we'll do hit sphere tags string, right? And we're going to use that to extract hit sphere tags rather. Okay. All right, so volume definition is missing required property. Okay, so it's actually not required. We don't have to have it. So if we don't have it, we're just going to ignore it, right? And then we'll say, I guess we could do a positive if check on it, right? And we could say we've essentially got to split the hit sphere tags by a pipe, right? So we need to do, I guess it's going to be, yeah, double pointer, right? An array of strings. Hit, actually, let's just do HS tags string. And for that, we're going to say, we're going to initialize it to 0, and then we're going to do string split. The string we want to split is going to be hit sphere tags string. The delimiter that we're going to use is the pipe. The pointer to the array of strings is going to be the address of HS tags string. And then trim entries we want to be true. And then include empty we want to be false. And then I think this is a U32. U32 count is returned, right? So it gives us an array of strings and a count when we split that. And then what we can do is we can go through each one of these. So we'll do U32. I guess I'll do T equals 0. T is less than count plus plus T. And then what we can do is kname creates, and this is going to be HS tags string sub T, right? And that's going to give us a kname. The other thing that we're going to need is once we split this, we're going to have to create an array of knames to hold the tags, right? So we need a kname, or actually I guess we could put, this would actually go on the typed attachment. Typed attachments hit sphere tags, right? Is going to be equal to kalloc C array. The type is going to be kname, and the count is just going to be count. And then actually, instead of just count, we should do typed attachment hit sphere tag count, right? Typed attachment hit sphere tag count, right? And then we'll also do that there. And then we can simply come in here and do typed attachment hit sphere tags sub T equals kname create HS tags sub T. Once we're done with that, then we can go ahead and destroy the temporary array that we've created up here. So we can do string split, cleanup split array rather. And to that we will do HS tags string, and the count is going to be typed attachment hit sphere tag count, right? So we'll clean that up so we don't leak that memory. That cleans up all the strings as well internally. And then we should have what we need here. So the other thing I need to do is go over to resource handler scene. Resource handler C. Yeah, this is going to be the one. And I think, okay, that's just taking a copy of those configs. So maybe we're good. That might be all we need to do. Okay. Whoops. Let's see. Assertion failure. String split. Oh, That's right. I have to create the D array before passing it in. I forgot about that. Which probably string split should probably do that for me, but here we are. Okay. Still 0. Oh, because we haven't assigned it yet. Okay, that's actually fine. So if we take a look at the config, we do have hitSphere tag count, and then we have one tag in here. And if we actually take this value, and we go into the debug console and we do kstring, or kname, string get, and paste that in here, we see that we get the player string. So that looks like it is doing the thing correctly, at least at that level. All right, so let's continue. And let's do, let's see what the matches tag does. So we have hitSphere tags. Okay, and we have a tag count here, 1. And then we have, okay, so our tags on our hitSphere are still not handled correctly. So we do have the hitSphere tags on the volume. I know that's a little bit confusing in how it's worded, right? But the volume's list of hitSphere tags is filled out, right? But the hitSphere itself, its tags are not filled out. So we need to figure out why that is. So I guess that's going to be back to the serializer. And then base tags equals tags. Okay, so we do we are copying this everywhere, right? So we do the same thing here for just standard attachment tags. You know what? That actually reminds me to look at something. This is actually a really good point. We should move this around a little bit. So let's actually take... We need to check this to see if hitSphere tag count is not 0, right? And then we can do all this stuff, right? Otherwise, DRA destroy HS tags string. Ideally, we should probably modify this API to, instead of having us create a DRA here and then pass it in, we should just create it if we need it inside that string split. That would be a lot easier to manage, I think. Anyway, all right. So we've done that, and then get the tags optional. So, okay, so we create an array of tags here if we need it, and the tag count. And then for each one of these guys, we copy in the tag count and the tags. So that is in the serializer. I'm pretty confident that that is working, but I am actually thinking it's probably not working. Typed attachment config. Stop it. I'm thinking it's probably not doing the thing here. So like we have volume configs, right? Volume configs, if we step into that, that has a base config which has those. Where is, let's see, new volume. So scene volume has this for hit sphere tags. But none of our actual, I don't think we're actually storing this in the actual attachment metadata. Right, so we have, let's see, where do we get that? We do that right here. So we're gonna have to do that every time, I wonder. So attachment. Didn't we have, are we just not storing that? Hit sphere tags. That's not really where that belongs, is part of the problem. This doesn't technically belong there. It belongs on in here, because it's more generic than that. It belongs right there. And then we should do that for every single attachment that we have. That makes more sense. So when we initialize the node and we're doing like all of the top level stuff up here, before we even get into the specific stuff, or am I going to have to do? We are going to have to do it at every single one, which kind of sucks. Trying to think if there's a way around that, but I don't think there is. I mean, I suppose we could jam it into metadata, but that also feels wrong. Let me catch up with comments here. Whoa. Another 100,000 credit redeem. Those are coming out of the woodwork lately. Another one joins. All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in for that long to actually get that. So let me go down here to credit. And you are the third entry on the list. So I will put you in there as sample 159. And you will get your name listed in the credits of the game when it's released. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. You are the third entry on there. And that'll get checked in and maintained here. This is Visual Studio, right? No. So this is NeoVim. What I'm debugging in is not the full-blown Visual Studio. It's VS. I have to bleep that because it's a family-friendly stream, right? So I use that as my debugger, but not my coder, my coding environment, right? Do I post my question under general dev, engine dev, graphic dev, or CPP? If it's OpenGL, yeah, I would say graphics. Yep, I would agree with that. Engine dev or graphics devs? Yeah, graphics. I would agree. I would agree with. Void Chaos, how's it going? Good to see you. Brian, good to see you as well. Have you ever heard the argument that you should put cold code, such as very bad error occurring, in another section of your program because your CPU will fetch instructions linearly, so it's better to keep your likely branches close together. They will fit in fewer cache lines. Yes, at some point, we are going to be overhauling the way that this scene is handled. Because the more I'm adding to it, the more I'm realizing I need to tighten up sections of it, for sure. Thank you for the hydrate redeem. You only have 100? Just 100,000 to go, right? Well, now it's 100,000 to go. Oh, it's Sampi with an I. It is. I've got that on a relatively low resolution monitor. It's not on one of my on my 4K display, so it's a little bit hard for me to see that. But let me change that. Like here, it's clear, but like over on this other screen where the chat actually is, it's not as clear. Sorry about that. Let's see. Giga Chad using both of them. NeoVim and VS. Yeah. Waiting for Zed to save us Devourer of RAM. From the Devourer of RAM, yeah. I'm hoping that Rad Debugger is much better so that I don't have to use this, which shall not be named. Sometimes people call me Sample with an L. Yeah, I didn't even pick up on that when I was reading it. Plus, I'm also dyslexic, so that screws me up big time all the time with letters. I'm always reading things backwards. Unless you use if blah 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 go to, then how much you can control what the code is at. It's easy in assembly. I don't know about C. Yeah, so I do go to for error handling in some places for sure, because it's just a lot cleaner. It's one of those things, just to use the right tool for the job, right? How do you read the lol emote? I read it as lol. Soul foam. I'm not going to read that out loud and get banned, but yeah, I get your point. In a scene file, .ksn with notes equals notes equals empty array, is it valid? Nodes. Oh, okay. So if you have like no nodes whatsoever, yeah, that's valid. Yep. Yeah, if you just had that, yeah, that's valid. Should be anyway. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but yeah, technically it's that's valid. Because you can have a scene with no nodes in it whatsoever. Okay. So, where was I? I got thoroughly distracted just then. Thank you for the follow, by the way. Don't stream daily, do I? No, I can't, unfortunately. OnlyFans is the only full-time stream gig. This is my side gig. Yeah, you caught me, Soul Foam. You caught me. Busted. Can't even say it with a straight face. People would probably pay me to get off that platform, to be completely honest. All right. So we have the tags at this level. In the scene, we weren't... Oh, right. That's what I was thinking. I have to do that every single time here. Because I won't have this index until after I've done this. Lame. This is one of those things I want to definitely change. So attachment tag count is going to be equal to typed attachment config base tag count. Do I need? Yeah, I guess I start off with the typed attachment config. That's fine. All right, so I do that, and then attachment tags. And I could just say typed attachment config base tags, right? I could do that. Whoops, I forgot the equals. I was wondering why it was screwing up there. I could do that, but the attachment config will go away at some point. And so I don't want to rely on that, so I'm just going to take a copy of it, right? So we'll do kalloc type C array, and then we'll do a kname as the type, and then attachment tag count, and then attachment. Actually, all I have to do is k copy type C array, right? So the destination is going to be attachment tags. The source is going to be typed attachment config base tags. The type is going to be kname. The count is going to be attachment tag count. Right? So these 3 lines, unfortunately, I'm going to have to add to every single one of these. And this is one of those places I absolutely despise this kind of thing, because I hate repetitive code. So we are going to be refactoring this at some point, but I don't want to stop what we're doing right now to do that, because I haven't figured out exactly how we're going to restructure it yet. So I'm going to do the super crappy thing and just make it work for now, which is sometimes the reality of the situation, right? Sometimes there is, you just got to do what you got to do to keep things moving. And we'll fix it later, because like I said, this whole thing needs to be overhauled anyway. Let's see. You heart both the editors. I get that. That's fair. Brian, I appreciate the kind words. I can't even bring myself to read that out loud, but this is very funny, though. You never know. Somebody might. Runs code with VSC, edits code with NeoVim. Yeah, that's just how I like to roll. You're going to do that from now on. Fair enough. Let's see. You were from the raid by Spiro. Yes, I vaguely remember that. Let's see. Okay. What errors did we get here? What kind of no member name tag count? 1198. Oh, right. Because we moved them from there. It is no longer in the hit sphere. It is on the hit sphere attachment. Scene attachment. HS attachment equals address of scene hit sphere attachments sub j. Right? And so we'll do HS attachment. And now we have that. I missed one somewhere else, I guess. 759. We had this commented out because we weren't doing anything with it, but now we need it. Okay. Dang it. Requires non-zero size. Oh, I did it again, didn't I? I did it again. Dingus. Oh, and I did it in like 8 places too. This is fine. This is, it's fine. We have an emote for this. This is fine. Dumpster fire. It's fine. All right, so let's just search for attachment tag count. I guess let's do attachment tag counts equals, right? Because those are the things that we're going to need to do. Okay. This is why I hate repeating code like this. Because you have foobar it in one place, you foobar it everywhere. Okay, I think we got them. Nope, one more. Okay, I think we got them all. I love tags having arch, by the way. Yep. Arch, by the way, it's down here in the very corner. I should have named my computer Arch, by the way, so it just shows Arch, by the way. I might rename that. I might rename it that way. Instead of the copy pasta, the cleanup section everywhere, it might need to be cleanup in case of an error. Oh, you guys still talking about the go-to stuff? Yeah. Does the cleanup section have its own? All right, so let me show you a good let's see. I use goto in a few places, as you can see. So why is it pulling up binary results? It's kind of weird. I guess we could look at, let's see, what's a good example? Probably maybe an asset importer. Might be a good example. Okay, I literally searched for goto. It gave me that file and then said it's not in there. Perfect. Okay. That was a little bit convoluted. Okay, so here's an example, right? So this is getting asset data, right? So we're basically loading a file from disk, right? So we have a bunch of these functions where we do something and then we check to see if what we did was actually correct, right? And at a certain point, we actually need to allocate some space, right? So we need to allocate some space and or open a file and all that stuff. Rather than having to replace or keep repeating, close file, return false, and then, free whatever, right? We have this label here that's get data cleanup, right? So get data cleanup is a file system close. If the result is not a success, then we free the data, right? And so this is a good example of where you'd want to use that, is where you want to do this thing over and over again, right? And so we don't have like a separate type of return in here. We're not bouncing to anywhere that wouldn't be hit naturally anyways. because if the code doesn't fail at any point, it proceeds into this naturally anyways. But what we can do is use this to avoid having to have like nested ifs all the way down. And, you know, well, if this thing is successful, and then try this, and then if this thing's successful, and then try this, and then if this thing's successful, and then you're, you know, 6 tabs over, right? And so what we do is starting from the point where we open a file handle, right? That's an allocated resource. Starting at that point, if that fails for some reason, we might have still actually opened the thing internally. So we just skip to that, right? We get the file size. If that fails, then we just skip, right? Here is where we actually allocate that memory, right? So we've read in the file size, we allocate a block of memory to go ahead and read it, right? And then we either read all bytes or read all text, depending on whether it's a text file or not, right? If those fail, then we just, you know, go to jail, don't collect $200, right? And so we skip all of this stuff that we don't necessarily do or that we shouldn't do, right? But if we haven't erred, then we would just proceed like this through normal and then follow through to this, right? So this is a lot cleaner to do versus nesting ifs everywhere. This is a really good example of where you'd want to use a goto. I hope that makes sense. I prefer double equals false is more readable than exclamation point. I disagree, but that's because I've been doing it this way for so many years. To me, double equals false is always just too verbose in an already kind of verbose language. If you use arenas, then cleanup is just one free call, so it's really clean. Yes, and we do use arenas. We actually do use arenas here. So all of our memory allocation is via arenas. So technically, we're not leaking any memory at the OS level, right? But, you know, we still would want to free that stuff regardless, right? So, and also, the file system is using some stuff that does reach out to the OS for other allocations that we don't have control over also. So it's a little bit, but yeah. All right. Thank you for the follow, by the way. Appreciate that. Why do you free before you return? So what are you talking about here? So in this case, we have allocated this data up here, right? So if our result was a failure at some point, meaning we could have allocated that data here and then failed here, right? So if that was, you know, if one of these operations failed, and we don't wind up with a success result, which the only way we could wind up with a success result is to fall through to this naturally. Then we say if data is there, then we free it, right? Because we might have allocated that memory and then actually failed doing something else after that, right? And so we check the result and free if it's not a positive result. You did get the, okay, yeah. I was going to say exclamation GitHub should work, and it did. Okay. Why do you do a heap alloc inside of a function? Seems odd. It's for API purposes, right? So I could have it where you have to call a bunch of functions to allocate that for, allocate the memory first and pass it into the function, right? But usability kind of falls apart at that point, right? I think it's okay in some cases to just say, when I'm executing a function like get asset data, right? And I've provided a whole bunch of stuff. It's going to tell me what the size is and what the data is, right? It should just go ahead and allocate that data for me. I shouldn't have to like do that again. Like there's plenty of other places where we do that, but like for the asset system, it's a little bit higher level than just the rest of our system, so we kind of push some of that stuff to the side. Just use alloc A dynamic stack memory. I would not, well, that's the thing though. So some of these assets are very large. I would not want to use stack memory for that. You know, some of our assets are, I mean, I have a, like the Sponza test scene that I was using is over 100 megabytes. So yeah. Wait a minute, 1,000 stars. How did I know that? Wait, it does have 1,000 stars, really? Oh, it does. Holy crap. I didn't realize that. You're right. It does have 1,000 stars. 1.1 actually. Stack is just a pointer. Okay, so all right. What you're not seeing here is my kallocate actually uses an arena under the hood. This is not just a pointer to, or you know, this doesn't just forward to malloc, right? This actually points to an arena under the hood that I use, and it manages all that stuff under the hood. That's what you're not seeing here. So anytime I call kallocate anywhere in the code, that's what's happening. Doesn't matter if the stack is huge. If you only use it once, don't alloc in a loop. Well, yeah, we aren't allocing in a loop. Yeah, that wasn't in a loop. But I also have linear allocators. Like, I have a frame allocator that's essentially a linear allocator that if I need to allocate in the middle of loop, I can use that and it's lightning fast. Anyway, so this right here also is during initialization, right? We're not doing this every frame. So initialization, like, that's fine. We can do that. We could ask for the whole thing ahead of time. And that's what I was saying, like, some of the data structures in here have to be redone in such a way where they be more friendly to that, where we don't have to loop through like this, right? So there's definitely some structure changes that need to happen in here. You don't have to ask for a pointer to an arena. The stack pointer is reserved for that purpose. You're saving that load. Yeah, but okay, yeah, Taman just addressed it. My arena pre-allocates, at least right now, it's 2 gigs of RAM. Yeah. So yeah, I would not want to put all that on the stack. I can't put all that on the stack. I can't put a 100 megabyte mesh on the stack. And some of this stuff I could, you know, if you have hundreds of these attachments or thousands of these attachments, you can't put all that on the stack. Like you just can't. All right. Anyway, where was I? Did I get this fixed? I think I might have. I think I just needed to test it. Okay. So, okay. It works. So what we're seeing here is the enable teleport does not exist. That's because we haven't created the command yet, right? That's fine. But you'll notice that it's only throwing those errors when we actually enter this, right? Because you're seeing other stuff come up here, right? Where it's like giving a whole bunch of other stuff. So, yeah, it's actually doing the thing. It's actually trying to execute that, right? Now, I have a suspicion it shouldn't be doing this more than once. It shouldn't be doing it a whole bunch of times. So I think we have to adjust some of our logic there. But as far as that goes, it looks like the collision is working now, which is good. Okay, so this is why I have so many hack tags in here, right? Because we're going to want a better solution than this, right? We want to get it working, then we'll get it right. And then we'll make it fast, right? All right. Let's see. Okay, so my question is, we are checking, why is this being executed every single time, right? So if we have a collision, which is going to be true in this case, right? Let's say we've done the thing. If we have a hit, if the index is -1, meaning it's not found in the hit sphere indices, then we try to execute this on enter command. We also we check to make sure that the hit indices doesn't exist. If it doesn't exist, we create it and then push the index to that. Wait a minute. Oh, that's dumb. I'm pushing -1 to it, which is never going to be right. What I need to actually push to that is not that. We need to push J to that, not index. All right, so we should see a single execution of that now. Yes, single execution, right? So now we're inside of the trigger, right? And we're still in there. We don't have an update assigned, so we're not doing that. And then when we leave, we should see another one right there. So enable teleport, disable teleport, right? We don't have the function yet, right? So we're getting an error, but we can see as we move in and out of that it is working, right? So we have that, and now what we need to do is actually set up something to handle that, right? So what we're going to want to do is enable, we're going to want to set up enable teleport as a function. So let's head over to why is this freaking out? Defines H not found. What? Why? If it's the compile flags again, I'm just going to fix that off stream. Let's see, it's going to be this one. Oh, right, because this one, it is going to be wrong for this one. Okay. So this one doesn't actually need all of that stuff. It only needs one of these. Right? No. Oh, that's the app, not the lib. This one needs to be fixed too. All right. There we go. Okay. I am going to have to fix that, but I'll do that offline. All right, so let's go to register game commands. This is where we put all of our other commands, right? And we also need a like a command callback, right? So I guess let's create a couple more for now. And again, I'm just shoving everything into this one file for now. Obviously, as the game grows, we're going to move stuff around. game command. Let's do game command enable teleport and disable teleport. Right? And so I can put, I guess I'll just put these at the bottom. That's fine. All right. And all we're going to do for now is just write something out, just so that we can actually see that it's being executed, right? And then we'll go ahead and add some UI stuff here in a second. All right. So we want to do register game commands. So we'll do another one here. And this one is going to be enable teleport. That's probably behind my head. Let me scroll that up so you guys can see it. So the entire command is enable teleport test zone 2 and then 0, which is the spawn point index, right? So the command name is the first thing. So that's going to be here. The number of arguments that are required are 2, right? Because we have the name of the zone and then the spawn ID. And then we'll do game command enable teleport. Whoops. Okay. Did I delete one too many? Yes. Okay. All right. So we have that. And then we also need a disable teleport. Let's see. So disable teleport. Okay. So those will be hooked up. Now, the other thing that we're going to want to do is also set up the unregister. The reason we're going to want to do that is because if we hot reload the game library, that is no longer going to be valid, right? So enable teleport. And we'll essentially need to unregister these commands and re-register them, right? So that is what those do. And now enable and disable teleport should be there. We can actually save off the data from it in a second, but I just want to test it and make sure that our command is hooked up correctly. We should get a, there we go, right there, right? Teleport enabled, right? And then disable teleport. Does not require 2 arguments. So that just needs to be a 0. Right? Okay, so enable teleport test zone 2, 0, right? Teleport enabled, teleport disabled. Perfect, right? And even if we see, if we examine the console, we have those things up here too. So now what we need to do is we need to extract the test zone 2 and the 0 so that we can actually set up a teleport, right? So let's just quickly go into the stupid compile flags again. That's going to happen every time I build until I fix it. All right, so what we need to do is we need something in our game state to actually handle this properly, right? However, we don't have anything in our game state passable in the command context, right? So context, if we look in context, oh, we do have a listener, actually. What did we might actually be able to get it. Let's see. We did send the app. So we can do this. So this is going to be context listener, right, is the application. That's what we sent along. And then we have the game state here. So we can append some stuff to the game states. So we're going to need to know. We are going to need to know a couple of things. So teleporting, we're going to do kname, zone, teleport, zone name, right? And I think it's a U8 spawn point ID, right? And that's going to be a teleport spawn point ID, right? So now we can go back to here, and we can do game teleport zone name equals something. We'll get to that in a second. And then game teleport spawn point ID equals something. And we'll get to that in a second. Now, how do we extract the data from this? We have context, and then we have argument count, right? So our argument count should be, if it's not equal to 2, then obviously we have a problem. But it shouldn't have even gotten this far to begin with, right? So expected to arguments return. Fine, right? I don't think we're ever going to actually hit that. I don't think the console would allow it to even be executed if that was the case. Because there is checking in the console to say, hey, did you provide the number of the number of arguments that this requires? So the way that arguments work in the console, if you don't recall, is they are passed as strings. So that makes this one, the zone name, very easy to get. So we can actually do kname string create, or kname create rather. And we do context arguments sub 0. And then that's going to be value, right? So value, again, is just a string. And then what we're going to have to do here is in teleport spawn point ID, we're going to have to do string to U8, right? And the string that we want to use is going to be context arguments sub 1 dot value. And I forgot that this actually takes a pointer, so we can actually just do this, right? And we'll take the address of that. And does this return a Boolean? I think it does. So if we provide some crap here that isn't correct, error parsing zone spawn point ID as U8. Okay, so now that that is done, we could probably take a look at teleport zone name and say if that's 0, then this feature isn't enabled. If it's 1, if it's anything else, then it's enabled, right? Because when we disable teleport, all we're going to do is we're going to say game, oops, I need this. Right, so I just say game teleport spawn ID and game zone name kname, which is 0, right? So all we do is we just unset those things in the state, right? And then what we can do is, I don't think we have I don't believe we have anything set up for the F key. I don't think. But that, I'm thinking that's what we're going to use, right? Okay. I don't see anything, so let's go ahead and set that up. And we want the world mode key map, right? Which we only have one thing on it right now anyway. Let's see. That's interesting that these are actually still running. They technically shouldn't be. Oh wait, we're not using the key map for that. Never mind. Okay, so let's do this. Really need to switch that to use the key map, but for now, we're going to use key F, right? We're going to do on the press, we are not going to have any modifier keys required. And then what we'll do is do teleport, I guess. And so that's going to have the same function signature as this guy. So we're going to take this and do teleport, right? What is this complaining about? Probably that it's not defined. All right, so we're going to put this right here. And we'll go ahead and tie in the teleport, right? So the way that we're going to do this is the same way that we do it is if we type it in the console, right? So all we're going to do is we're going to do a string. Thank you for the follow, by the way. Let's see. I want to do command equals string format. And our format string is basically just going to be go to zone. And then we want the zone name, and then we want the zone spawn point ID, right? And so we are going to get the app of the game this way. Right? So we're going to say game. Actually, we need to do kname string get. And then we will have game teleport zone name, right? And then we'll have game teleport spawn point ID, right? So we do that, and then console command execute. We just pass the command, and then string free command. Now, obviously, we're doing an allocation of the string here. We don't necessarily have to do it this way. It's just quick and easy, and it's something we do once, right? So I'm not really worried about the performance implications of that here. So what this should do is when we press the F key after being in the trigger, this should do the teleport, right? However, we do need to check something really quickly. So if not game teleport zone name return, right? So this just means nowhere to teleport. And now what we should see is we go over here, step into the portal. You see there that it's enabled, and hit the F key. And boom. We are now in the other test zone, right? So I know this zone looks the same, but it's actually a different zone, right? And we can tell that by this right here. So now we have the ability to actually go into a trigger zone, which activates, eventually I'll activate some UI that comes up and tells us, you know, hey, press the F key to actually do the teleport. Or, you know, to transition to whatever zone. And then, you know, from there we can we can actually hit the F key and actually do the thing. So I'm actually pretty pleased that we got that done. Ran a couple of minutes late doing it, but sometimes that's just the way it works, right? So that is going to do it for tonight's stream. Let me just catch up on chat really quickly, though. Rocco, evening. How's it going? Good to see you. Want to try studying Kohi by composing simple scene in Klib and game unload scene, e.g. a triangle, then a texture triangle, then a cube, OBJ with materials, etc., step by step. Yeah, do it. Do it up. Okay. Let's see. First time chatter, welcome. Have a question. Why do you use C for developing the engine? Does it have a bigger community for shared libraries to speed development? No, it does not, actually. I chose C for preferential reasons. Also, it was kind of an experiment to see, what it's like writing an entire engine in C. I've done it before in C++, not in C. But I've been at it now for 4 years. So, I feel like I've got a pretty good grasp on it. My C++ looked amazingly like C anyway, so it wasn't really a jump. But I like C. It's a simple language. It compiles fast because it's a simple language. So yeah, C++ is especially modern C++ is very large. It's bloated. It's very complex. And I don't find most of those new features even worth using. I never used them before. So yeah, as far as that goes, like the only things I really miss out of C++ would be operator overloads for the math library and maybe having a strict null pointer type instead of 0 everywhere. But that's, minor. Operator overloads are the big one. But yeah, I mean, otherwise I did what I called C++ Lite, which was basically C anyways. Anyway, it is time for us to end, so I'm going to find somebody to raid. So thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate the support and whatnot. And I'll catch you guys next time. But I would ask, if you haven't already, please follow. Thank you for the follow. At least I assume that was a follow. Yes, thank you for that. And I'm just going to find somebody to raid really quickly. Just give me a moment to scroll through the list. Okay. We're going to raid Jitspo tonight. He's working on a pretty cool looking retro FPS rather. He's making it in Godot, but he's got some pretty cool features in there. You should ask him about kicking the bucket in the game. It's deeply hilarious. But anyways, so we're going to raid him. Thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys on the next stream. See ya.